Okay, Collins, I'll let you take it away.
All right, thanks guys. Glad to have the team here, a bunch of knowledgeable people. It's a pleasure to interview you guys. So I'll just go through the questions and you guys can just, no set in order that we have to follow. So if you feel like you want to go first, then by all means. All right, so the first question is, can you tell us about yourselves? You can break that down into what is your role, and then secondly, what was your path in getting into a career in cybersecurity?
I'll kick us off because I love talking. So
there you go.
So yeah, we go. So this is fun because it's always different, right? I actually went to school for international relations and public relations, and then I decided to join the Army, and the Army was like, "We've got this new thing called cyber, so we're going to put you in this." And I was horribly underqualified, so they sent me to the NSA, and I found that I was terrible at actually doing a lot of the very technical acumen, but I was very good at grasping conceptual stuff, and I was a very good communicator. So I quickly became an interpreter of technical, and I was good at writing. So that I got put onto red teams, and I started to do threat analysis, and I had these skills that translated very well. And over time, the human factors of cybersecurity became my thing. So my career is all about the human factors, and I did insider threat, and now I'm actually doing talent development. So there's all kinds of different roads through cybersecurity, and you kind of find what you're good at, and you just allow things to kind of zig and zag with your career. So I'm sure you've all heard those kinds of stories before. I didn't go to school for it, but I'm here and I love it. And so now I'm actually pursuing more leadership. I'm training internally, trying to figure out how do we transition very technical staff into first-time cybersecurity leaders. And so that's kind of what I do and what I'm doing now.
Thank you, Austin.
So I will follow up behind Austin. I hate going behind him because he always got a great story to tell, right? So for the future questions, so everybody know that he's going to be the great storyteller, and it's a hard act to follow. Anyway, I'm the Associate Chief of Talent Management for CISA. So in my role, I oversee the agency's onboarding and recruiting activities. And when we talk about recruiting activities, those also include specific programs targeting various communities, such as veterans, military spouses, individuals with disabilities, as well as students. Been with the organization for 3 years. Prior to that, I worked for an organization called General Dynamics Information Technology, otherwise known as GDIT, as a program manager, as well as worked for the Coast Guard as a R&D program manager over what was called C4ISR, and which is now C5ISR, which is command, control, computers, communications, cyber, intel, surveillance, and reconnaissance. That's a mouthful, right? But my foray into HR and leading this organization's talent acquisition was after experiencing issues with recruiting staff to support me on the program side. I said, hey, there's got to be a change. And instead of complaining about it, let me get involved, right? So I never saw myself in this role. My background is I've got a master's in information and telecommunications, right? But I'm sitting over in HRs with the HR leaders. So I would say my entry into my current position was not traditional, sort of as Austin shared, but I love it because I get to do things like this, and I get to ensure that we bring and I get to build the diverse pipeline of talent for the agency. Back to you, Colin.
You're on mute, Collins.
Well, good Good afternoon, everyone. So I'll round this out by saying that similar to these gentlemen, I also did not have a traditional pathway into cybersecurity. So similar to Austin, I was working at a 3-letter acronym agency. I was at CIA, pretty young, interning at CIA when I was 20 years old. And in my late 20s, I had an assignment in the White House Situation Room to staff the President's Operations Center for the President, Vice President, and National Security Council from 2012 to 2014. During that time, we had nation-state actors, specifically Iran, targeting American financial institutions with DDoS attacks. And I got exposed to why cybersecurity was going to be such a high-level threat environment and so important to the United States for the rest of my career. When I transitioned back to work for Governor Ducey in Arizona in 2015, I started working on cybersecurity for the governor. A few years after that, became our CISO for the state. And now I was appointed as the Director of Homeland Security with the cybersecurity mission under me about 1 year ago. And it's one of those areas I've seen grow more and more every single day, literally. When I first became the CISO 3 years ago, I told every information security officer in the state that they were on the front lines of a major national security issue. And they looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, no, just wait. More is going to happen. I need you all to help me protect the entire state network. Fortunately, we built a really good team over the last 3 years, and I'm really fortunate to lead such a great team. They've taught me a lot, but I don't have a technical background. It's more on that leadership, strategic side and vision. I understand the threat environment very well, but I can't configure a firewall. So I need my team to be the technical experts, and it's my job each and every day to put my team in a better position to achieve their mission objectives for the state of Arizona. And that's an evolving threat landscape, but it's one that we have to have continuous improvement. And each and every day, we're going to have to go forward and deal with the challenges put forth by nation state actors, criminal organizations, and hacktivists. And it's the best we can do. And so honored to be on the call today, and happy to stop there, but that's my background.
Thank you, Timothy. Great answers, guys, by the way. Question 2, can you share anything regarding Russia's invasion of Ukraine and how that's impacting cybersecurity in the United States at the federal and state level?
So I'll kick it off. So obviously we can't discuss mission specifics. So I just want to throw that out there. But as you can all imagine, there has absolutely been an uptick of activity throughout the entirety of the .gov. So if all of you imagine just the .gov and how much traffic happens across the entirety of the .gov space, we're talking about billions of hits every day. So now we have more hits. And when you think maybe there's 40,000 attempts daily just on the .gov, maybe now there's 80,000. So there has been an uptick of just attempts and activities. So with that, one thing to consider is that we have always been working with Ukraine for years. And one of the reasons why we have been working with Ukraine and a lot of other international certs is that Ukraine and Estonia specifically usually receive some of the first attacks that happen. So if there is an advanced persistent threat actor that is geographically located in the area around Russia, oftentimes whatever they do first, we're going to see it in Ukraine, we're going to see it in Estonia. So there is a very robust relationship that has always existed there for those reasons. So I would say that for all of you here, if you do have an interest in kind of learning more about kind of what's going on, how it's happening, right? You want a little more of an academic understanding from a cyber perspective. Private Citizen Austin, not cybersecurity CISA Austin, but Private Citizen Austin recommends that you check out the Kremlin playbook, which was created by CISA. So they're in their 3rd iteration of it. And the Kremlin playbook is going to tell you all about Russia's approach to hybrid warfare. That's kind of the big label that maybe some of you have heard. And so they also talk about a lot of the cyber activity, their justifications for it, but it's very well documented in this open source document called the Kremlin playbook. So to that point, though, one of the things that CISA specifically is doing is that we've created a joint cyber defense coordination council. So this is working with states, working with the private sector, working with the public utilities, all the critical infrastructures. So now there is this joint effort to respond to nation state actors. This happened before the Russian invasion, right? It was right before it, but things were kind of gearing up. So it was fortuitous timing for us because now we do have a central coordinated effort in how we are responding. When something in the energy sector gets hit, we can notify other places. So that's a unique thing that CISA does because CISA is working, we're not the NSA, we're not the CIA. We're not collecting information on foreign nationals. We're protecting things within the United States. So consider if one of the other groups sees something overseas, they can't reach out to a power company in Iowa and notify them, right? They don't have that authority legally. They go through us. So we do act as an information broker oftentimes, and we are the first warning that a lot of groups get. So that's kind of where we're at. And in that regard, we are creating security standards. We're implementing, we're asking people to implement basic hygiene protocols. We're showing them what those protocols need to be. And so that's all kind of happening across everywhere. And it's kind of exciting to be part of it because a few years ago, right, like we didn't have this, but you know, roll forward to now, and there is this very big sharing of information that's happening everywhere.
Thank you, Austin.
And I just want to add to what Austin shared is, you know, it's not just national, right? CISA is international, right? Because we can't do it in a vacuum just for the US. So there is information exchange both ways, and we do have a presence internationally that will continue, or which will continue to grow. So we're not just about the US, we're not just about states and local tribes, we're about everything. I mean, it's a global entity.
We actually have, for those of you who are wondering, we have a cybersecurity counterpart that we interact with in every country except Somalia.
Thank you, guys.
Well, I'd just like to add that CISA is a phenomenal partner. So being the director of Homeland Security, I can tell you firsthand that the information that CISA provides our team on a daily basis is useful to us, better protecting the state of Arizona. It's really protecting the critical infrastructure and backbone of our entire, not just our economy here, helping to share information with our private sector companies and others. I'll give you the perfect example on Russia, Ukraine. Just 2 weekends ago, over the weekend, CISA, FBI, and others released the exact malware and indicators of compromise to the IOCs that Russia was using against Ukraine. We were able to have our cyber command center for the state immediately plug all of those IOCs into our cybersecurity tools and software to block any of that malware, any of those IP addresses, any information they had to share with us. We immediately blocked for the state of Arizona. That is real actionable intelligence that is shared quickly that makes a significant difference. At the end of the day, when it comes to the Russia-Ukraine conflict, we have to look at this from a perspective of if Russia is willing to invade a sovereign nation and declare an unprovoked war on Ukraine, which they obviously have, there is no limits to what they will do from a cybersecurity threat landscape. That's just a fact of it. Cybersecurity has no borders. The physical attacks they've had on Ukraine, we have to listen to the experts on this. Director Easterly and others have done a very good job of sharing information with all the locals in 50 states around the country to let us know that we have to be prepared for the worst. Hope is not a strategy, so we can all hope for the best, but that doesn't go very far when it comes to protecting our critical infrastructure and state governments and city and county governments across the country. So CISA is a phenomenal partner. The information they share is really helpful. We exercise with them regularly, so that information moves into tabletop exercises. And we're great partners. We're a hell of a lot stronger together. There's not one organization around the country that can handle cybersecurity on their own. Certainly not when you're faced with the threats of nation state actors, which we all are at this point. So really, this current threat is only going to be managed appropriately with good teamwork between our state, federal, and local partners. And I really thank CISA for the strong partnership.
Great, great. Thank you, Timothy. You guys actually answered question 3, but if you want to add more to this question, feel free. And the question is, how is CISA and local states, government collaborating to secure our critical infrastructure, and why is collaboration so important? I feel like you all touched on that. So if you have anything else to add, feel free. Otherwise, we can move on to the next question.
So just so everyone understands, when we say that there are different spaces in different networks, so much of critical infrastructure. So when you think of critical infrastructure, for those of you who are like, oh, where am I going to work? What's the job? I only see the State Department and the NSA. There is so much out there. And a lot of these critical infrastructures work on SCADA systems. So if you consider elections, right, election security, we now have 17 critical infrastructures that are working with transportation, your water purification, your power, your money transactions. These are all critical infrastructures. And every single industry needs workers. They need cybersecurity professionals. There is a lot of opportunity out here. And if any of you work in any of those industries, you are helping CISA. You will be plugged in with us. We will coordinate. We will talk. We will be friends. Okay. So this is an important thing to understand. And when it comes to how we interact with those things, CISA has, as an example, built, and this is a kind of a new thing, what we're calling cybersecurity advisors. So we've even split, we have a watch floor that it looks like we're chasing Jason Bourne, right? There's like TVs all over the walls. We're hunting something down. It looks interesting anyways. But with the watch floor, they coordinate all of these things with our cybersecurity advisors, which are split into 10 regions across the United States. So those cybersecurity advisors are constantly going to the financial area and the water, the power, all of these critical infrastructure areas to help them and make sure that they are connected, make sure that they do have the software updates, they do receive signatures that they can put into their firewalls to protect their networks, or that they can have someone come and help them with their SCADA systems. So this is kind of where the issue of we want security, but we also want things to be convenient. And we're seeing that issue of, well, I really want it to be convenient, but I also want it to be secure. We're seeing that in the critical infrastructures more than anywhere. So that's why we're putting a lot of effort into it, and we're trying to create binding objectives. For example, and this is relevant, a couple days ago, there was just big news for us in cybersecurity land because there was a binding directive that was given that said that critical infrastructures must, right? They must report to us when they have a hack so that we can respond quicker, so that we can mitigate things for them and share that earlier. Before, they were not legally required to do it, so a hack would happen in multiple places. So we are making a lot of progress, and that only can happen when the states and the local governments work together and share information. When the sharing doesn't happen, everybody starts to feel the pain.
Thank you, Austin. For lack of time, I'm going to go ahead and jump on question 4 so that some of our externs can get some of these questions that will help their career as well. So question number 4, we know that cybersecurity has a talent shortage in our country. I don't know if that will consider that as a threat, but what challenges are you facing when attracting and retaining cybersecurity talent? Question 1. Question 2, how are you addressing this?
So what I'll say is attracting candidates is not an issue, right? We have success attracting both active and passive job seekers. When we post a job opportunity, and we use one platform, which is called USA Jobs, which is like the hiring clearinghouse for the federal government, for lack of a better term. We get hundreds of applicants to any of our positions if we don't have an applicant cutoff. So I know the competition is fierce. The issue for us more so is the lengthy hiring process at times where we can lose candidates. And some of that is because of the rules that we have to abide by in the federal hiring process. And those rules are inflexible, right? What I would say challenge-wise is we're seeking the same experienced talent that everyone else is seeking, right? But I think where we have success is in terms of individuals being driven to us because of our mission space, what we do and wanting to support the country and looking at things at a grander level. What was the second part of the question? Was it with respect to?
How are you addressing it?
Yeah, so one of the ways that we address it is we are looking, and Congress is working on various hiring authorities or pathways to kind of minimize or reduce the amount of time it takes to bring individuals on board. We have put in workplace flexibilities, which allow for more telework, more remote work, depending on the type of work that's being done. We've just launched at the end of last year with DHS, we launched a cybersecurity talent management system, right? And that is supposed to be a quicker way to get hired, right? It's new, so we're still working through it. Again, like I said, we launched it at the end of November. To date, we've hired 2 people through that program, which is quick. It may not sound like a lot. It's quick. We're still learning the kinks and working it out. And then we provide retention incentives. We provide sign-on bonuses in some cases. And one of the things that we do is we offer continual growth in training for our employees, right? So even if an individual comes on board and he, she, or they may not be fully versed or have the skill set, the full skill set that they need, we'll provide it, right? And I think Austin can speak to that a little bit as well.
So that's a great point, Joran. And one of the things for all of you who are looking to either start the cybersecurity career, or maybe you've started it and you're trying to figure out how to navigate it, one of the realities is with this work that we do, we are in a somewhat unique space because you learn a lot of the advanced persistent threat tactics, techniques, and procedures through experience. You can't learn it in a textbook. You learn it by messing around. You learn it by practicing stuff. You learn it by sitting with people who have done it and kind of apprenticing with them. It can take time. So really, you're trying to get exposed to as many new things as you can. And when you enter your workforce, they're going to teach you what you need to know for that particular stuff. Now, what I love about places like CISA, as an example, is that we're new and we're kind of messy. And I kind of like messy. Messy is good for me because there's a lot of neat opportunities to try new things. And it is constantly changing in that environment. So a lot of people that are new to this profession, when they come to a place like CISA, they do get opportunities to stretch and try new things. And that's kind of what cybersecurity is and what they get. But I will say, what Jordan didn't mention is that the government is trying to pay a lot better. They understand that, hey, we got to compensate these people better. So the government is actively trying to figure out how to be competitive with compensation, which is kind of a new thing for the government. Is that fair to say, Jordan?
Fair and unfair, because, one aspect of our human capital organization does look at pay across the board, and we try to ensure that we are competitive. So there are some areas, depending on your grade level or your level of experience, where the federal government actually pays more, right, than you would in private industry. And there are other areas where we know we don't, and we've got tools in place to equal the playing field, right? So we're adaptive. We monitor that very closely, just to ensure, again, that we can bring on the best talent. And the best talent doesn't always need to be experienced talent. One of the things that I will share with respect to talent, we're looking for entry-level talent, right? It's a little bit of a shift of where we've been, right? Which has always been bring on, super experienced talent. We are looking to bring in talent that has to be developed. So, because this industry changes all the time. I think Austin said, yeah, cyber was 2012 or 2014 or what have you. Yeah, when I got my master's, there wasn't a thing called cyber. It was information and telecommunication systems. What's cyber? So back to you, Colin.
Thank you, Joe.
Well, hey, Colin, I'd just like to say, I'm in complete agreement here, but I'd just like to recommend to, the next generation, which we're talking to on the line here today, that government is a phenomenal first step for you in a cyber career, because it's going to expose you to real world experiences that the private sector candidly can't. So for me, I've been able to get exposed to all this real world experience and have some great opportunities that I never even dreamed would be possible, all because working for state government and the federal government have allowed me to do that. The private sector will always be an option, but I would just recommend to people listening today that really strongly consider going government first. And I'm not just saying this because we're from the government. I really, truly have talked to a lot of private sector companies that have said, hey, we'll pay you X out of college with no experience, but boy, we'll pay you X plus Y plus Z. If you come out of college, you get real world experience, you get exposed to some things in the government sector, and you have that real world experience. Now you've got the degrees and certificates with the real world experience. That is so unbelievably valuable. And that's good for us from a workforce development and talent pipeline to develop good talent and then be able to utilize those individuals in the private sector as well. Because make no mistake about it, our private sector partners are just that. They are partners. Every vendor that we partner with, at least 15 of them that we have on contract, we need good talent on those teams as well. And the private sector needs to be developing good tools for us to use. But that real world experience like these gentlemen are talking about, that you can get first in government, that's huge to then transfer into the private sector. And you'll get exposed to certain things in government that you can't get anywhere else.
Great, thank you, Timothy.
I got to add this to what Tim said. One of the I never thought I was going to work for the federal government. I'll be honest with all of you. Like, I left the Army and I'm like, I'm done with this government stuff. And then the opportunity arose and I'm like, oh, I guess I'll contract. And to Jordan's point, I made more money when I became a Fed than I was contracting. So I was like, wow, this is great. And I have a say. But what people don't articulate, like when you see people that have been in the government for a very long time, in the state government, right, in their local stuff, really at a certain point, you're just trying to find meaningful work with good people. That's it. You're trying to find meaningful work with good people. And you often find that in these government positions, because you go home at the end of the day, and even though you get frustrated, and even though it's hard, you see the traffic lights working. And once in a while you'll go, I'm part of protecting that. Like, I actually get to enjoy running water. I get to enjoy electricity. I get to enjoy all of these amenities because I'm supporting people that are actively protecting all of these things that I just love and I take advantage of and I enjoy. I get to protect our infrastructure. I get to protect our society. And that fulfillment that you get really contributes a lot to just your life. That's why you do see people that enter federal service or local government service or state service, and they don't leave, because that's worth quite a bit.
Thanks, guys. Next question is, tell us what skills, experiences, and certifications you're looking for when hiring top talent. I'll let Timothy start. He's been getting the short end.
So, I'm gonna just be really candid, because why not? That's why we're all here. That's going to be the best value for everybody in the line. I hear a lot about, people in our society these days that talk about, what school did you go to? Where is this program ranked? All that. It doesn't really mean a lot to us, and it doesn't within this industry. But maybe it's because I haven't just an undergrad degree from Arizona State University, and I've had employers take shots on me in my career. And, I've been fortunate to work, alongside a lot of the best and the brightest in the country. And I've seen firsthand that, you recruit people not who they are on paper. And Governor Ducey has been really big on this. He says, he's hiring people, not resumes. And so I think there's something really important for everybody to understand, that regardless of the specific certificate you pick out and the specific undergrad or master's or whatever you have, pick something that you specifically are more interested and more passionate about. That will come across stronger. For example, if you don't want to do analytical work, don't go into that side of it. If you don't want to be a, network architect, security engineer, well, then don't go into that side. Cybersecurity is broad enough now that there are so many specific areas of focus that you can work in. Find something that excites you, apply yourself to that, and that is going to get you the best career opportunities. Don't pretend to be something you're not. And so I hope that's helpful, but I will tell you right now, our team struggles to find good SOC team members. So our security operations center really needs people to analyze information, investigate things for us, figure out what's going on, what is a threat, what isn't, who needs to be alerted, why or why not. Those are the types of things that we're really struggling to find, because the threat environment has exploded and we need more staff to be able to handle the modern threats. So I would say to anybody on the line, if you're unsure of where you want to go within the cybersecurity field right now, from my experience and what we hire for right now, we really need SOC analysts. So I would say lean towards that. And I'm just going to throw in a plug for SOC analysts. I think it's a fun environment to work in. It's exciting. You never really know exactly what's going to happen every day. It's a bit of an adrenaline rush. You get a little something of everything. It's sort of the front lines of cyber. And I think it's a really fun side of the cybersecurity concept. So I hope that's helpful. I really think the SOC side, when in doubt, would be a great idea for people that are looking for a career in it right now, and give it a shot. And if that doesn't work out, find something else you're passionate about.
So,
Thank you, Tim.
so I'm going to jump in behind Tim, because I couldn't agree more, right? And Tim kind of stole the thunder about how I would respond to this question as well. I think one of the key things is being passionate, right? You need to be passionate about cybersecurity and motivated to continue to learn in that field that you're looking to have the expertise in. At CISA, we respond to new and emerging threats daily, and our staff needs to continually learn, and stay abreast of new technologies and any vulnerabilities that may come with them. And that's why I shared before, the extensive training that'll continue on. So when you ask, do you have to join with a certification? The answer is no, right? If you don't have it, I think Austin also spoke to that. Having certifications and no experience doesn't really help you, right? Getting the experience, then getting the certs is what helps you. I would also say that in terms of skills or credentials that you need, like be innovative, be a creative thinker who likes challenges and solving puzzles, right? So one of the things, and I don't have one with me right now, is our director, Jen Easterly. If you go to our website, she loves Rubik's Cubes, right? So if you ever go to an event where we're going to be, like I'll be at a recruiting event this week, I'll have a bunch of Rubik's Cubes to hand out, right? Because it's really being a creative thinker and really solving problems. I'd also say be adaptive and flexible. Agility to navigating changing priorities as new threats emerge. That's something that you have to be able to do. I had a meeting scheduled with our director this morning, and she was also going to conduct onboarding and swear in our new hires this morning, as she does every 2 weeks. And she got called to the White House, right? When we talk about Ukraine and Russia, that's why she had to go to the White House. But we had to adjust. You just have to always be flexible and adaptable. The other thing that I would say is, I think Austin spoke to this earlier about, his experience and what got him in is the ability to translate cyberspeak into business and mission impacts, right? Into plain language so everyone can understand. That's key, right? Having good written skills or good writing skills and good communication skills will take you far. And I think the last thing that I will close out here, and I think hopefully we've reiterated this with respect to the conversation about partnerships at large, is collaboration and influencing and encouraging others to collaborate and form partnerships is key, right? Without the partnerships, no one can do it alone. And I think Tim shared that earlier in the conversation. So as you can see, all of this kind of ties right back around. It sounds circular. It sounds like we're saying the same thing over and over again, but it is kind of the same thing, right? Collaboration is key. So I'll leave with that.
Thank you, Joe. Austin, any last words on this question? You all set?
I'll speak quickly because I know we have other things to discuss. But I want to point out that what Jorn and Tim are talking about, they're using this concept of what you're passionate about and allowing this passion to show up. That can be really tricky for people to go, well, what do I do with that? How do I show that? How do I demonstrate that? And oftentimes what you all need to think about in that first part, right? Because you need a resume that is going to represent you and get your foot in the door. At that point, when your foot is in the door, it is your interviewing skills, which you practiced for. What are we looking for? We're looking for you to have hobbies that do cybery stuff. Do you enjoy problem solving? Do you enjoy doing things? That's passion. The things that you are already good at, can you articulate those in your interview? You're all very good at different things. How do you do that thing that you're good at within a cyber environment, within the cyber ecosystem? That equates to what you're passionate about in life, okay? I love physics, but physics does not like me at all. I got D's in physics and I tried so hard. So no amount of passion is gonna make me good at physics. I was terrible, right? So you gotta figure out what you're good at and that grows into your passion. That's what you show in your interviews.
Thank you, Austin. I want to tie these last two questions together. So the first question is, how do the externs apply to your organization? Then the last question is, what advice would you give the externs on things to do to prepare for the workforce or to prepare to enter the workforce? So 2 questions. how do the externs apply to your organization? Second question, what things can the externs do right now to prepare to enter the workforce?
Tim, you want to go first?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So just like everywhere else these days, I mean, it's pretty easy to apply online through the state of Arizona. So we have an HR portal, and I apologize, I don't know it off the top of my head, but all of our HR vacancies are run through the state of Arizona. So a simple Google search should bring you to our Department of Administration, and you should be able to navigate from there to all the vacancies for any information security position within the state executive branch. And all those information security positions really are under our authority. So we are one of the states that has the statutory authority of a CISO to run, manage, and have the ability to turn off systems at all the agencies. So even if it's not in our Department of Homeland Security, you could work for our Department of Transportation, for example, and that information security position will still need to align with the strategy that I and my team put out there. And we've talked a lot about that real world experience, that it's really valuable. We have an internship program, and I would highly recommend it. I would highly recommend any internships, externships, any experience that you can get. Don't be afraid to ask for things. Don't be afraid to reach out to organizations that you think you might want to work for, but you don't see the vacancy online. I'm going to tell you right now that I've talked with a lot of CEOs locally about this, and I know this from myself as well. We know that we're struggling to really fill a lot of positions, and a lot of positions don't even get posted because people realize they're having trouble filling them. Don't be afraid to reach out to an organization. It's almost considered a cold call, but don't feel that you can't reach out and say, hey, this is my background, this is my resume, this is what I want to do. Do you have anything available? Because you would be amazed how often we or other organizations can create something for the right person and the right fit if we know somebody is asking us for it. So don't be turned away, and don't get down on yourself to think, oh, I really wanted this specific SOC analyst position at the Arizona Department of Homeland Security, but I don't see it posted right now. Reach out to us, reach out to those organizations. Don't be afraid to ask for things. You can't get what you don't ask for. I know it's cliche, but I can tell you from experience, it truly works. So I hope you follow that advice, because you'd be amazed. Some of the best job opportunities in the world are going to come from you reaching out and being proactive in your search.
So I will add from the CISA front, if you're looking for an opportunity, I would go to CISA, CISA.gov, gov/careers, CAREERS, and I've put it in the chat as well. There's a link in there that will take you to USA Jobs, and there's also some guidance with respect to how you can search USA Jobs for opportunities. I know we will be posting some opportunities for some additional summer internships later this week, right? So if you're looking for an internship, that's one way to do it. But also if you're just looking for a full-time job, you can also go to the same spot and look for opportunities that we have posted. Also, if you have any questions, if you're a student or looking for an internship, you can reach out to my team at studentcareers@cisa.dhs.gov. And if you're not a student and you're interested, you can also send an email to careers@cisa.dhs.gov. One thing is, we're not taking resumes electronically or anything. You still have to apply through the process. But if you have questions with respect to opportunities or how to apply or what have you, someone will get back to you.
Thank you, Joe. Austin, any last words?
I rarely have things to say, so I'll stretch and I'll say something this time. So I'm trying to drop something in the chat, but it's not letting me. Let's see if it. There we go. So here's some extra resources, some links, CISA resources that you can use to kind of sharpen your saw, that you can use to kind of grow some skills and abilities. So Joran's covered a lot of the things. So what I'm going to say is, from where you are right now, you're like, I'm in an externship, I'm trying to make it to the next level. One of the things that you can start to do is poke around with all these free resources, be ready to talk about them. This is how you can talk in your interview about how you're gaining skills and abilities, right? You have to put in the effort. Part of that effort is that each of you needs to gain some self-awareness so that you can talk about yourself, so that you can convey effectively what my skills and abilities are. You can practice those. If you need help figuring out what those things are, use some assessment tools, use strength finders, use 16 personalities, use these different assessments that are already out there. Many of them are free to help you gain a vocabulary so that you can represent what you bring to the table. So that's kind of what Tim's talking about. Tim's talking about, if you connect with the right mentor and you have a connection, they will go to bat for you. They will try to help you. But if you can't convey what you're really great at and what you like to do and where you want to, what direction, you don't need to know what the rest of your life is going to be. You just need to know what direction you want to start in. So try to find tools to help you get there.
Thank you, Austin. Thank you guys for the insightful answers. I'm going to hand it back to Ngan. Ngan?
Thanks, Collins. Thanks, everyone. I think we have time for maybe 2 or 3 questions. So if someone wants to raise their hand, and I'll call on you. Any questions we have for the group? David, did you want to ask?
Yeah, sure thing. So just kind of real quickly, kind of perusing the little links that you guys sent through the CISA and everything. I was actually seeing that you guys do have a tribal affairs program. Can you kind of elaborate a little more on if you have any experience with the tribal affairs program?
So short answer is that we have a team that works with tribal affairs, tribal territorial. I have not worked on that team, so I can't speak at length about what they're doing. But because all of that needs to be handled, because that needs to fit into the tribal laws as well, the way that we are sending signatures, the way that we are sharing information, we're very active in that regard. So I can find more resources. If you want to ping me later, I can connect you with that team.
Very much so. Yeah, I'll definitely keep in contact, and very curious about how that whole cybersecurity realm and the connections that are made with the tribes, like you're saying, in regards to tribal law and how all that works.
Tim, do you have an answer to David with regards to us and tribal government?
Yeah, so we need help in this department for sure. So every single state agency has a tribal liaison, but in cybersecurity specifically, all the grant programs we haven't had much success getting our tribal nations to apply for the cyber grants. We know they need it. That's just based on fact that, we've seen across the state, the smaller, more rural municipalities are the ones that whenever you do gap analysis for, they have the largest gaps that need help. So I know they need it. We've struggled to appropriately get the word out to the tribal nations and then get them to take the time and effort to fill out the application. So like I said, although every one of our agencies has that tribal liaison, our deputy director, Ryan Murray, and I have had this conversation a lot lately. With more grant funding coming into the state through the infrastructure bill and the governor's investment in cybersecurity for this upcoming year, we're going to need to do a better job getting more of the tribes on board and helping to protect themselves. So that is an actual area that we need to do better at.
Awesome. I appreciate your answer, and hopefully there can be something that maybe I can add a little bit of help to both your guys' organizations, if at all possible.
I agree, David. I'm going to put you in contact with Ryan, so be on the lookout for that. Gordon, do you have a question?
Okay, there we are. buttons weren't working for a second. So forgive me if I'm wrong, because I could just be a misinformed consumer, but as far as I'm aware, I know that the internet used for government issued sanctions, whatever, is a different internet that's operating than versus what we're operating on as consumers of the American public. So I was wondering, because of that difference, I didn't know exactly how much difference that entailed for cybersecurity getting into that field specifically for the government. If there was any ways that we could specifically prepare for that other than the links that Austin shared in the chat. And also, if that is the case too, how is that going to string a bit back into the private sector? How do those sort of play along with each other?
So I'll take a crack at that question, Gordon. So one thing to start with, right? Because where you all are at, you can't, like, it's not like you can go and practice on a nuclear power plant. Right? You could go and take training to do that. There is training out there, but it's for people that are already in the profession. They send you to specialize in those things. So kind of the thing to do now is to gain exposure and knowledge to it. So the Fifth Domain, the book, The Fifth Domain, if you haven't read it yet, is probably one of the best books that is most recent in tying all of those issues together and helping you understand how the things are working together. And so for right now, considering you can't go in and get your hands on the stuff, you need to try to understand at a strategic level how a lot of it's working. And then with the resources that we're providing, go on to GitHub and see if someone has dropped some stuff for you to practice with for nuclear energy or for power plants. The Department of Energy, as an example, they've got like a whole competition that they run that is all about their specific systems that you're talking about. So I would look at the resources the Department of Energy has, because they're wanting to train people ahead of time to kind of do these kinds of things. I need to look that up now so that I can share the exact websites, but I've seen some of the training that Energy has, and I was like, this is awesome. When did this show up? So it's all very new. So that's where I would start.
Tim, do you have any thoughts before we close out?
No, I don't. I think that was a very good response. I'm not really well aware of a totally different skill set that we would need, to work in the government spaces. But just want to thank everybody for taking the time today to be on the call, because really recruitment and retention are such a key part of this. It doesn't matter where you go to work, whether you go to work for CISA, the state of Arizona, the private sector, a defense contractor, a three-letter acronym agency, but just, anywhere you go to work for a good guy and help us all with these threats that we face. And that will make a huge difference in our society. So I applaud you all for being interested and passionate about these issues. I wish you all the best of luck. And people like ourselves and our organizations are always here to assist you. I've had a lot of help throughout my career, and I'm happy to pay it forward and give back. And so my team and I are always happy to help. And I thank CISA for the partnership, and Nan as well. Thank you for organizing and for the opportunity as well.
Wonderful. I'm gonna